It's time to get hyped, everyone, for round 2 of the XLR F3 Championship as we head to Silverstone, a track which declares itself as the home of British racing, and with a history stretching back to 1948. There is some justification to the claim. Always one of the fastest circuits in world motorsport, Silverstone has developed it from its windswept airfield origins to It's one of the most recognised in world as motorsport. I'm Tim Cox. We've got Sean Cranleigh-Swash in the production booth. But right now, as always, I'm joined by Chris Rowlands. Chris, we've got qualifying. That's just underway at the moment. The usual 15-minute open qualifying session. However, who could forget Brands Hatch last week, the season opener, and also 2 wins to kick off the championship from Camp.
If you can see, he's not the currently fastest driver on track. That's Sasha Chiabataru, who couldn't make it last week. So we've got a pretender to the throne, it appears. But either way, this is going to be a very different profile race compared to last time out. And as I say that, look who's gone on pole. And no, but you know, Brands Hatch, very tight, technical, twisty circuit, very much about the rhythm. Silverstone is so much more wide open. Yes, it's still got those technical aspects to it, but in the F3 car, it's just that little bit lighter in power compared to, say, the Formula Ones that you can get around here. And I think that's going to lead to us, hopefully, some cleaner racing. I think we'll probably see some more battles for position because I think there's more clear-cut overtaking opportunities here. And we've got a slightly bigger grid today as well, which I think is going to lead to some interesting racing.
I'm sure it will do, definitely. And of course, for race 2, we've got that reverse grid feature as well, which definitely throws up that extra conundrum for the drivers to have to deal with. Of course, the top 10 are reversed for race 2. The grid formed up from the results from race 1. And, well, we saw last time just how interesting it made things. And I'm sure it's going to be no different here today at Silverstone. Let's just watching Chiburutu right now, just closing out his lap. Be interested to see if he can go any faster. Only 900ths of a second, separating himself from pole right now. That's going to be so crucial for himself to just have that slight edge of what's looking like is going to be his championship contender in the form of Nykamp. And wow, I mean, from Silverstone, Chris, just how crucial is getting pole position around here?
Well, it's crucial everywhere, really, I suppose. But no, it's I think certainly going into, it's not so much turn 1 or 2, it's turn 3 where being on pole is going to be that huge advantage. We see a lot of incidents in sort of official F3s at Silverstone on lap 1 into turn 3 because it's quite a heavy braking point. It's quite a complex turn, and if you can get out of that section unscathed, it's a reasonably clear next sort of half of a lap. It's only really once you're onto the hanger straight that your neck's going to have to hugely worry about defending a position. But based on the pace we've seen from the top guys in the last week, and also looking at, you know, there's only a second separating the top 12 here, it's you know, I don't think it's fair to say you're going to be clear home and dry after half a lap. I think the amount of drafting you can do around Silverstone is going to lead to some really intense battles. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to recover. And of course, don't forget that after race 1, we have a reverse grid for race 2, so you can finish 8th and in race 1 and it not really be the end of the world because you're suddenly right up there. I think in 3rd you'd be for the feature race.
You would be indeed, and that is so crucial. Really aids and it's just saying how it just mixes things up for race 2, and I'm sure we're bound to have some unexpected race winners as the season makes its way across the globe. Of course, we're in the European section of the championship at the moment. Of course, as you mentioned, kickstarted the season off at Brands Hatch, and well, it's an absolute cracking season ahead. Of course, next time out, we're heading to Alton Park, which will it's a bit of a tricky one for rounding out the European section at Nürburgring. We take a little bit of a break and then head across to the Americas with Watkins, Lime Rocket, Interlagos included in that section. There's going to be some absolutely cracking racing while ahead of us. We've just got qualifying still not long left at all. 3 minutes 40 left on the clock, and just watching Steele at the moment. Be interested to see whether he can promote himself up for the field. Of course, had a strong race last time out, didn't he, Chris? And sure will be looking to carry forward that momentum here today at Silverstone. Well, as they say, that kiss, the commentator strikes fully. Well, a beautiful 360 there to style that one out and keep going.
Yeah, no, that was done for the cameras, I'm sure. And what a stylish spin it was. It goes to show how hard these guys are pushing, and we saw it last week as well. Compare this to last season in the F3, and I suspect this is mostly down to the new tyre model and maybe it causing a change in setup philosophy. This car is a lot easier to lose on the rear than it ever used to be, and I think the amount of sort of low-speed corners here with big acceleration zones, and not necessarily straight acceleration zones, and we see one right here, I think we're going to see, similar to last week round the hairpin and Graham Hill bend, we're going to see a lot more cars losing it on the exit of corners, just putting the power down too quickly.
Showing that Dewsbury at the moment, currently lying in third position, that second row of the grid. Just got just under a tenth of a second between himself and keeps himself promoted up onto the first row of the grid. As he comes around past the old original start-finish straight and heads out into the second half of the lap through Cops and then into the absolutely iconic Maggots and Beckett's complex. One of the most iconic set of corners in world motorsport, where you can really push this car and utilize that aerodynamic ability of it. Just having a bit of a look at this one, Chris Notkamp. He's on a bit of a flyer here, saying purple sectors.
Yeah, he's looking very comfortable coming around that last chicane, looking very in control of that car. None of that sort of loss on the rear. Look at that, a 51.456. That is nearly half a second quicker than Ciabattari.
Wow. However, let's take a little look at what Ciabattari is going to do in response. Quickest in the fourth sector. As he comes around to close out his lap, where is he going to come? Are we going to see an improvement from him? Well, the answer is no. He actually goes slower by nearly a full tenth, and that's going to be qualifying done. And this is just see Morton having a bit of an issue there. I think that's through. That's just coming out to close out the lap there, isn't it? And what is now? Well, now the final corner is Club, and it's Bolden here looking to improve, yet to set a time and off tracks on every single one of his laps so far. So all his times have been deleted. He'll be desperate to actually get a time banked in here and move up through the field and start a bit higher up. This is a tricky one, isn't it, Chris? Because it's such a cool. There we go. Just locks the rears. Around he goes. It looks like he's going to be starting from the back of the grid with Mulholland, the only other driver yet to set a time here at Silverstone.
Yeah, although I think, as we've already said, I don't think it's necessarily the end of the world to start right at the back. There will be lots of opportunities to make places up, and we saw last time that as well. There's a fair few drivers who've got the pace and the aggression to scythe their way through the field. I think Ralph Cullinan, for example, and I mean, he's qualified in 18th today, but he looked to have very good pace around Brands Hatch, so I wonder if we'll see more of the same tonight from him.
Going to be definitely interesting one to see. That's qualifying done and dusted. The driver's just going to take to the, we'll start to take to the grid now. We'll be able to bring you up with your official grid very shortly. Of course, you know, Nycap starting on pole with Ciabattari starting alongside him on that front row. Second row looks like it's going to be made up of Dewsbury, and there we go, and John O'Lilly on the second row. Watts and Hardy on the third row, with Van Gool and Ayres on the fourth row. Neva's got Sampson for company on the fifth row and taking up to 10th place. A podium sitter in race one last time out, Seal. He's got Tyrrums for company on the sixth row of the grid. It's Hefford and Morton with Carl Jacquelet and Currington for 15th, 16th. Alex Rogenberg and Cullinan on the 9th row of the grid, and 10th row, and up to 20th, it's Ricks and Clark. Littler and Barry in 21st and 22nd, 11th. We've got Alan Toon and Tyler Bolden rounding out your last complete row, with John Mulholland completing the field in 25th position. I mean, Chris, it's going to be tricky on these opening laps, isn't it? With such a large grid, if one mistake happens or incident happens near the front, it can, well, potentially spell disaster for some drivers behind, but you can equally see some drivers making big gains.
Yeah, people with good spatial awareness are going to make real gains through Village and Loop, and I bet you will see someone lose it into Brooklands as well. So people with triple monitors or good spatial awareness, this lap one, this is your time to shine.
Indeed, and everyone has taken to the grid. Revs build, and let's get ready to go racing in round 2 of the championship from Silverstone, and we are away. You see instantly just pulling out onto the left-hand side of your screen there, the right side of the track. That was Samson. He's already up 2 places on an absolute flyer, moving through the field. And wow, it looks like everyone's getting away relatively cleanly here as we head for the first time down into Village and the Loop. This tricky tight left-hander, a bit of a bump in the background there. Dewsbury just getting a little bit of a love tap from behind. I think that was Lily, who just, there's contact there between Cullinan and I think there's Carl Jacklett. There's a spinner in the middle of the track there. Evasive action taken by the 92 of Roger Morton. I'm not sure how he didn't make contact with theirs there.
Anyone who drives the car number 92 is obviously a supremely talented driver, but he did very well to avoid that. But there's not a huge amount you can do if you're a sitting duck there. And look how close it is up the front. Nightcap not been able to get away from Chibatari, but he's got Dewsbury for company behind him as well. So let's see what happens here. This is not an overtaking opportunity, really.
It's not into cops at full throttle, willing out right, using all that tarmac on the runoff area on the outside the track. They'll pick off tracks, but they won't care one little bit about that as we head through Maggots and Beckett's for the first time tonight. Oh, wow. You can see just how close things are right now. Everyone desperate to get the best possible exit out of Chapel and heading down the Hangar Straight, where it's going to be so crucial as pulling out from the slipstream. That is Dewsbury looking to take second place, but he just has to back out of it there. This Chiburutu just clings hold of that, but this is playing right into the hands of Nightcap. He is pulling away at the front. There's contact in the rear there. Watts is sent off to the right-hand side onto the grass till he exits the stage, and he's going to fall right down through the order. Actually, I think he's headed to the pit lane, Chris.
Yeah, I think they've got a fast repair, so it's not, it's the best place in the track to get damage, and hopefully he can get back out and have a bit of recovery drive. We did lose one starter on the grid, Ollie Ricks. I think we saw in the background. Don't know exactly what happened to him, but he got hit somewhere. And like we were saying about starting in the back, making places up, Tyler Bolden and John Mulholland started last and penultimate, and they're both up 10 spaces already to 14th and 15th.
Real big gains in terms of positions on these opening lap here. Currington, he's up 7. Likewise, Seal, he's got a cracking start. And Tyrrell's coming along with him for the ride. 6th and 7th at the moment, both at 5 places. As you can see, Neve here having a real ding-dong battle with Currington and just losing out. Well, as he tried to get past Currington, looks like he's going to lose a position to Van Gool, who's going to hang around the outside there and shut the door firmly in Neve's place. And that is Van Gool up to 9th, but still, he's just down a couple places from where he started. Not having the best of starts, but definitely working his hardest right now to recover it. But Neve, he's coming on the fight back, not an overtaking place into Maggots, and Beckett's just has to yield a little bit, just bide his time and just ensure he gets the best possible exit out of Chapel. You can see just sort of running wide. I think that was Van Gool there, just getting a bit out of shape on the exit, Chris.
Yeah, Samson of all these four was the one who looked the happiest coming through that complex, and yet because everyone else in front is going to have the slipstream, not able to take advantage of it. And here we see someone who doesn't have the slipstream, which means Nightcap has got Chiabataru for company. He's not really been able to get away, and because we saw that incident earlier with Watts, it sort of allowed Chiabataru to not worry so much about Dewsbury and Lilly, and he's got, he's going to be able to focus. So we say that, look, Lilly has posted the fastest lap of the race now. I don't think this isn't looking like it's last week. I think Nykamp is going to have his work cut out for him to win this race, looking at it so far.
Well, you see, Ayres there just making the recovery after that earlier incident on lap 1. Oh, Jacqueline, another one of the drivers losing out as well. He's down 5 places to 20th right now. It's just a bit of a lock-up in front of him. That might have been Mulholland just locking up there, as you said earlier. And Bolden up 11 places so far. Let's just see Ralph Cullinan here, the Irishman, moving out of the slipstream and trying to find his way past Clark. Wow, with incredible ease there.
You almost have to say he's surely running a different setup. He must be on lower downforce, because you can get a good run out, as it looks like Ollie Rick's there just giving way to everyone. That's very kind of him. But yeah, I think Cullinan is going to have a lot of joy if he's able to keep that car under control, if he's got that much straight line speed advantage over the rest of the pack as he works his way through again. John Mulholland is next up for him, and then this battle is not that much further up the road.
Well, they're having a right good go at things as well. That would have been incredibly brave from Neve to send it up the inside there on the entrance into Maggotts. Just has to yield a little bit. But I think just visually, I don't know about you, Chris, whether it's a difference in liveries, but it seems to me maybe Samson just running a little bit of a lower profile wing, as we see Tyrrell's there just making up a place. Seal having some sort of, she lost quite a bit of time there, but then here becomes Ayres making progress once more. But that gets himself past Clark, and he's up to 17th now. For recovery guide fully in force, and the battle going on right in front of him. So that's Mulholland and Cullinan going wheel to wheel, toe to toe there. Mulholland coming out on top in that number 5. Living to fight another thing, clinging hold to deal life to that 15th position right now.
Yeah, well, I think Mulholland is a little bit slower on his overall lap pace, 55 there to Cullinan's 54, Hefford in front on a 53. And Cullinan there, I think he's much more confident on the brakes, able to go around the outside into turn 3. Now he can put his eyes forward. And again, nice advantage of Cullinan is that Mulholland now has Ayres for company. And this is always the trouble early in the races. If you give up one position, there's going to be someone right behind, which keeps you off your line, off your game, and you just can't fight back. So this is why it's so important to make those places up early. And Dewsbury is just about being able to keep in touch with Chiabataru there. He's still just about within a second. He'll just about have a bit of draft. But with Lilly for company behind, they're going to have to be careful, because any small mistake and you're going to get eaten up by the pack.
It's just making his way past Mulholland right there. That's got himself up to 16th. Next target is Cullinan ahead of him. As well, he's just speaking about our leader. Two starting to really break away right now. Nykamp and Chiabataru. They've got a second advantage over Dewsbury in 3rd place. You can just see a dot in the background there as they come through into Stowe. And interestingly, Chiabataru taking a much tighter line through Stowe as well.
Yep, and that's on top of the fact he's going to have a bit of dirty air, which is going to lead to the car understeering ever so slightly. It's not an effect you feel hugely in the F3 car, but it's still going to have an effect. As you see Cullinan now making a move on, I think, is that Mulholland again? No, that's Ayres in front of Mulholland.
Yes, Ayres getting past Cullinan there. That's now up to 15th place. There's a spinner there. I mean, that's Bolden. After such a great start, he's now falling through the order like a stone. So you should see this battle for 4th place going on. Lilly and Hardy, who've now really dropped off the back end of our top 3. Some real daylight emerged between them. 2 3/4 seconds as behind, a gap back to Dewsbury. You can see Lilly trying to defend, holding off from the clutches of Hardy, who is absolutely all over his rear end right now. We can just see us right on board with Hardy. But I mean, Lilly he's well, credit where credit's due here, Chris. He is just soaking up the pressure.
Yeah, I think Lilly was quite off the pace in the last 2 sectors of the last lap, so I suspect there may have been an error at some point, or something happened. And it's in touching distance to Dewsbury, and now he's got all this pressure from Hardy, with Tyrrell's not far behind either. And yeah, it's going to take a while to get those tyres back into the acceptable range. You can see how hard Hardy's pushing, although this is not an ideal way through the complex here, so he's not going to get a good run through the hangar straight, but the draft is going to allow him to stay in touching distance. But I wouldn't expect to see a move done here unless they are running drastically different setups with different downforce levels.
We just enter now into Stowe. Battle looming behind them. These two not leaving each other alone. Samson and Van Gool been going on it pretty much the whole race. Not far off half race distance in race one. Complete your order right now. A Nightcam, he's leading the way now. 7 tenths clear of Gibraltar in second place. Dewsbury third. Lily fourth. Hardy, Tyrone, Seal, Currington, Samson and Van Gool making up your top 10 as just see Carl Jacklett just about to say making progress there. And instantly undoing that. So locking up. Well, was it a lock-up or maybe just dropping down the gears a bit too quickly there, Chris? Because that can sometimes cause the rear axle to lock up, can't it?
Yep, and again, if you're someone who's driven the F3 car a lot before this season and you've not driven it a huge amount since the update 2 weeks ago, the characteristics of the car, where you're used to pushing right onto the limit, and keep in mind these drivers are all pushing to the limit, any slight change is going to result in errors that look bad, but that's a marginal error what's happened there, which just unfortunately for him there, it's just quite dire consequences. But you know, 32 seconds off the lead, he's obviously not going to catch that up, but 10 seconds up to about 15th. I don't think they're going to be able to sort of anyone below, I would say 12th. It's really challenging for that 10th place reverse grid pole, which is currently Peter Van Gool, but he is fighting with Samson here. And James Neve, just a few seconds down the road, he'll be hoping one of these two gets involved in a tangle, because 10th place is the place to be if you're looking ahead to race 2.
It's so crucial for Neve to this second half of the race to really close up onto the gap at back end of these two right now. Samson and Van Gool currently on board with the latter of those. So head down the iconic hangar straight into the absolute epic fast sweeping right-hander that is Stowe. And bringing you around now into the more modern part of the circuit. You see on the right-hand side of the screen the new wing grandstand, and wow, you can see Van Gool able to just close up the gap once more onto Samson, who got really out of shape there into Klopp and really hurting him dearly.
Yeah, you can see we've seen it a few times today, these different lines being run, not necessarily like tactically, but just from pushing the car so hard. You really need to, Silverstone's the kind of track you need to set your moves up several corners in advance. I mean, we'll see perhaps later in the lap, getting into Maggotts and Beckett's, you can't be going side by side into them because you need to be lining up for the hangar straight going into Stowe. I mean, this is another potential place for it coming down the Wellington State into Brooklands, but Van Gool just not quite able to get close enough. He is so close up to the back into Brooklands, but it's just not a sensible overtaking opportunity, especially if you're sort of looking ahead to making further places, because you just don't want to cost yourself all that time through Luffield going side by side. But let's see if he's able to line a move up here. Obviously not into Copse. We're not looking for a Hamilton Verstappen repeat from last year, but you know, come out through Maggotts and Beckett's and down to Hangar, that's where you want to be looking to make the move, set it up over a half a lap.
Just see Ayres, who's now up to 13th place and now onto the back end of Hefford, 12th place right in front of him. I mean, just looking at the gaps, Chris, I know he's going to catch up to get himself inside that elusive top 10 and get himself further up the grid for race 2. However, what it does mean is it'll be starting behind our, well, as things stand at the moment, Nightcap and Chibutaru. So potentially can use those guys to get his way through the field, and if he can stay onto the back of them in race 2, then he stands a good potential of bringing himself out near the front at the business end come the end of race 2.
Yep, and it looks like the cars are just getting into that sort of low fuel tyres right in the zone, because Nijkamp and Chibutaru have both just set their fastest laps of the race. Both neck and neck pretty much, with a 52.00 for Chibutaru, and 0.04 of a second slower than that is Nijkamp. So that is, admittedly for Chibutaru, that is with the draft as an assist. But you just goes to show you, I think, like you say, Tim, race 2 with these two coming through the field, we're going to have a very interesting race indeed. And this is ignoring, of course, Dewsbury and Lilly have got pace as well. They're in the 52s, as is Carl Hardy. So I think we're going to see in race 2, presuming all of these guys in the top 6 or 7 come through unscathed, we're going to have a very interesting first few laps and probably quite a tight first few laps into race 2. But also I want to give a shout out to Will Currington. We've not really touched on him. He qualified 16th. He's up to P8. He is the biggest gainer of anyone who qualified. And, you know, he's running pretty comfortably, I would say. And he's going to be, as things stand, he's going to be in P3 for race 2, and I think that's a reasonable shout because he's going to be away from most of the nonsense rounds, turn 3 and 4 on lap 1. He's in with a reasonable shout, I would say, right now of winning race 2 if things stay as they stand.
Rich Rowlands, top tip for race 2, and hopefully it is, certainly for Currington, not the case of the commentator striking onto him. But I mean, having said that, Chris, just keeping half an eye on things, he is bit by bit catching up onto the 2 cars ahead of him of Seal and Tyrrums. I mean, just looking at it, he was a 10th quicker last time around than the American Tyrrums, and equally he was around about 6 tenths quicker than Seal. Now, that sort of pace, I think he's going to get incredibly close. There's another new fastest lap of the race there for Chirutara, the first driver to get into the 151s here in race 1. And wow, I mean, it's struggling to see anyone who's coming close other than Nijkamp in terms of matching him for pace.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen Chibutaru's racecraft in terms of how good is he overtaking. So we'll get to see that.
That's Seal caught up. He's going to fall right down through the order, and I think Carl Hardy was the other driver who was initially spun and blocking the track there. Seal has got damage. He's down to 7th place. But what this is going to mean is Currington, he's now up to 6th place. Well, let's take a look at the replay of what happened. Here is Hardy. As he came down through Village and the loop, as he just lit up the rears. Oh, too much pace, Chris.
Yeah, he's locked up the front, and then he's sort of in no man's land. He's trying to correct the car. Obviously, all these people coming through, I'm not really sure. Obviously, he could have held the brakes, but even then, he's, yeah, that car's not happy. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really awful for the guys that got caught up in that behind. But you go into panic mode at that point. And I mean, he was right on the apex. It's a tricky corner at the best of times. I know for me, as a single monitor driver, I think even knowing that was coming up, I probably would have got caught up in that. So I don't want to point the finger at anyone, but it's a shame that's happened. But equally, I think we should be quite pleased that after lap 1, that's really the only incident we've seen.
Let's just see. Neve just try. Yeah, there we go. Not trying. He's got the move done. Down the hanger straight past Seal. And now it's all about, for Seal, surely, Chris, just keeping hold with just under 3 minutes left on the clock. Wow, he's into the pits, clearly can't carry on due to that damage. And that's going to really shake things up inside the top 10 as we look back from Samson right now. That is Van Gool on the attack as we run into turn 1. Through Abbey, through Farm Curve, on the run down to Village. And, wow. Van Gool, he's not got long left on the clock. A bit of a lock-up from Samson there. Really needs to start pushing things.
He lock-ups from both drivers there. You can see everyone pushing really hard with the brakes at the moment. But what that incident has done is it's moved Steve Hefford into provisional pole for race 2. He's in 10th, but he has got Jamie Ayres for company, who is down 3 places from his starting position. And he'll be wanting to get back into that top 10, not just for the extra position, but I think Jamie Ayres is going to believe he has got the pace to challenge for a good result next time out. And yeah, it's amazing how you can sort of say, oh yeah, this is all set up and all settled down, and then all it takes is one mistake and it completely shakes up the grid.
To see Van Gool, wow, you can see just scrubbing the front end, that dirty air kicking there, being kicked up from the wake of Samson ahead as they enter into Maggots, and then Beckett. And definitely a much tighter line. Initially being taken by Van Gool. Samson runs wide. What can Van Gool do now as they head down the hanger straight? This is going to be tight as they come into 7, pulls out from the slipstream, and then it's going to be up the inside and up into P7 goes Van Gool. Wow, really took advantage where Samson just got a little bit wide and misjudged the exit of Beckett's and into Chapel.
Yeah, that was teammates playing nice with each other, but I really liked that from Van Gaal because he pulled out at the last minute. He didn't give Samson much of a clue as to what he was doing, which meant Samson was sort of stuck in no man's land, because if he defends, Van Gaal had enough pace to probably just take it round the outside. So that's very clever racecraft from Van Gaal, but also very sensible from Samson to realise that we've only got one lap to go now. There is no need to fight this too stupidly because they're both going to be set up for third and fourth on the grid for race 2.
Oh, Rick's just getting a bit wide out onto the grass there. So he came out onto the hanger straight, and a visit to the barrier. Suspension damage. That's going to be surely race over for him, but this is Ayres. This is all over 10th place, that crucial pole position for race 2. And Hefford has not got long left to hold on. This is going to be so tight. We're on to the final lap here in race 1. The white flag has flown. Nijkamp, he is out clear, 2.2 seconds clear of second place right now. But Ayres really needs to dig deep. Not too many opportunities, but quite possibly, Chris, the best overtaking opportunity still to come down the Hanger Straight into Stowe Corner.
Yeah, and he's actually pulled out of the slipstream. I wonder if that's just to make sure he doesn't get too close, because it can really put you off your lines coming through here. But it does look like Hefford's taken a reasonably good line through, so we're not going to see what happened to Samson on Van Gaal earlier. And as we can see, Nijkamp here, I believe, coming for his 3rd win in 3 races.
Wow, another classy race from Nijkamp from pole. Led every single lap, has taken the victory as Ayres looks like he's going to have to yield, and looks like Hefford could well hold on to this. Not long left at all. Literally 2 corners left as they come round club, and this looks like Hefford is going to hold on to that crucial 10th place, and will be starting from pole in race 2. They've still got battles happening up and down the field, right to the line as they come out onto the hanger straight. This is Littler versus Bolden. As Bolden pulls out there slightly, and this looks like could well be the move done round the outside. Well, he left Littler lots of room there, but didn't need it really. It's really generous with the amount of room he was giving Littler.
Yeah, well, I think some of these drivers, I think they just want to get home at this point. I mean, if you're fighting over 19th and 20th, it's it's still a position, but equally there's no point destroying a race over it. So if someone feels like they've got that massive amount of extra pace, some of us just want an easier life. Okay.
Well, speak for yourself there, Chris. Yes, I know what you mean. It's sometimes about damage limitation, isn't it, really? And those two scrapping right at the end there, over 19th and 20th. But wow, what a race 1 already. Tons of action here. Once again, let's take you through your Class 5 results for race 1. So Nijkamp, as Chris said, making it 3 wins from 3 so far this season. Richard Paturo in 2nd place, and Dewsbury rounding out your podium here in race 1. Of course, with the top 10 inverted, that means these two will start, well, top 2 will start in 9th and 10th respectively. Then we've got Jono Lilly in 4th place, Tyrrell's 5th with Will Currington. Wow, what a drive from him, up 10 places in the end to 6th. He'll be really happy with that one. Van Gaal 7th. With Samson, Neve and Hefford rounding out your top 10, and Hefford holding on Ayres, who, despite that, well, completely and utterly down and out at the end of lap 1, recovering the car back up to 11th is an absolutely outstanding result. Then we've got Cullen in 12th, Seal 13th, of course, that contacting that trip to the pits put pay to his aspirations in race 1, with Morton 14th and Clark taking up to 15th place. Rogan Buck in 16th with Mulholland. Great drive from the back from him. He started absolutely dead last and coming home 17th, with Jacqueline 18th, Bolden and Littler rounding out your top 20. And then it was Watts, Toon, moving through the field. There we go. That is us. No, that is everyone, isn't it? Classified. Of course, we had a couple of retirements. So there we go, Chris. Wow, Bit of a warm-up session now between the two races before we head out for another 20-minute race. And I mean, what's in terms of British circuits, of course, Silverstone, world-renowned, iconic, right in the heart of Motorsport Valley. But with the array of British tracks that we have here on iRacing, what's your personal favourite of all the British tracks?
Well, I mean, the basic answer for me to give is Brands Hatch because it's the one I'm geographically closest to. I've been there for the inaugural A1 Grand Prix race back in the day. Got to see an incredible crash around turn one between the Team Lebanon and Team Italy car, and you can tell it's seared into my mind because this is about what 16 years ago, and I still remember it very clearly. But I think as we saw in this series last weekend, though, Brands does just the rhythm of the track allows for some really cool racing. I think it's one of the most fun circuits to drive. I mean, I don't want to be one of these purists that says, "Oh, old Silverstone was better," but there's not the same sort of rhythm to the track here as there is at Brands. I think there's a different proposition in different cars. I'm talking specifically for F3 here, really. It's the right level of power for someone like Brands Hatch when you compare it to the F1, which I don't know about you, but I don't really fancy driving the Mercedes W12 round Brands Hatch, but I'm looking forward to driving it at Silverstone. But where we're going to be at Alton next week, I must say that's my least favourite of the UK tracks, although I haven't bought Knock Hill in terms of iRacing's offerings, so can't speak for that. But Alton, I find, is just such a difficult circuit to drive, so I think that's going to really separate out our top drivers from the rest of the pack next week.
Interesting you say that one because, well, firstly, Alton, for myself, I absolutely love the place. Always have some really great results there. Recently in the F4 over the past week, had some brilliant race results there. Porsche Cup in the very last 1 week of the season on iRacing, and I really do love that place. I mean, in terms of you say about the new Mercedes around Brands Hatch, whether it would be right. I mean, recently, of course, IMSA visited Knock Hill last season, obviously on iRacing, and a combination that shouldn't work. And myself being an LMP2 driver, well, I've got to say it was an absolutely amazing car and track combo. The combination that should work at all. The LMP2, you want to keep away from the curbs a lot, but you could really mash them. Cracking job from the various setup shops that they did to make that one work. But you say obviously old Silverstone maybe being better. The corner that I really miss, Chris, is Bridge. It was an absolutely amazing corner where you just drop down the hill and in underneath the bridge, hook a right, and the car just felt so planted the way it was just sucked into the ground. You could carry so much speed around it.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand why that kind of change was made, and the modernisation they've done of the facilities at Silverstone, especially, is really good, as you can see in the helicopter shot there of the new pit lane. Although I'm not sure how new you can really still call it now; it's been there for several years. And also, I suppose for us in iRacing for drivers, we don't really care about how nice the facilities are. We just want to have good racing. Although I think in iRacing we do generally see quite good racing here at Silverstone. Certainly, I think the race we've just seen was of pretty high quality, and I'm really looking forward to this reverse grid race, especially as we say because of the fact that I really hope it does bunch up the top 10. I think we're going to see some really interesting racing where the top pace drivers can't just sail away into the distance.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. See how it plays out, and just think back to obviously circuits maybe that we don't have with it in iRacing, British circuits, and I think for me, I know it's now turned into a glorified car park. It was arguably a bit of a white elephant to start off with. Rockingham, um, absolutely, I love the road course that they put into that. Absolutely brilliant. Always brought great action, especially in the touring car races, in obviously in the real world. But for me, one that I'd love to see on iRacing, I don't know about you yourself, Chris, is Thruxton. It's a mad course, although it could invoke some bit of hairy racing where it's full throttle for a lot of it, and you've got to really commit hard to it.
Yeah, well, I thought that Knock Hill would have been madness to bring into iRacing, and we saw IMSA at it last year. I wasn't brave enough to drive it around there, but yeah, I think if Knock Hill can work, then surely Thruxton can too. And with the amount of touring cars they're bringing into iRacing, I think it would be a welcome addition to the calendar.
Of course, that just pretty much just then leaves us with Crofts, really, of the British circuits that are used predominantly and obviously don't feature within iRacing. So interesting to see whether we do ever get those. But not long left now of the warm-up session, around about 3 minutes remaining. I mean, Chris, if obviously just thinking ahead to race 2 now, for our top two from last time, Nykamp and Chibutaru, what sort of recommendations would you give to the pair of them?
Keep having a look in your mirrors.
So I'm just going to head across to live session now, and we'll be back shortly after a quick intermission. Oh, welcome back for that quick intermission, quick break we had to take there. But yeah, we're just saying, Chris, just for the break, in terms of any sort of advice or guidance you give to Chibutaru and Nykamp coming into race 2, of course, starting in on the 5th row of the grid. They've got to battle their way through if they want to claim, well, especially Nykamp's case, claim yet another victory to make it a full clean sweep of 4 from 4 so far this season. What's the best sort of tactics to play?
So saying before the break, I think keep an eye on your mirrors, because I think we're going to have some very overexcited sort of P11, P12, P13 type, because they'll see the people that are really quick in front of them, and they'll want to sort of we see it so often in racing. The best thing to do is to follow a fast car through, because the person they're overtaking is offline. So people are going to be lining up to try and take advantage of that. Now, last week we saw Nykamp, really, he was able to get back up into the top 4 very, very quickly, and then from there it was just a case of pick your moments. But if everyone in the sort of top 8 gets away safely and cleanly, I think it's going to be a bit trickier to do that this time out, because as we saw last week at Brands Hatch, a lot of those places are made from just taking advantage of other drivers' errors, but we aren't going to see quite so many errors today, although the tyres will be cold, so that is something to look out for. And I do think, yeah, if we can get through turns 3 and 4 with minimal carnage, it's going to make it just that little bit harder for Nykamp and Chibutaru to get through. But we've seen already Nykamp's racecraft is exquisite, and I can't imagine Chibutaru's is much different. So I'm really looking forward to see what both of those guys can do.
Definitely. And as always, the series is sponsored by Ansei 3D. If you're looking to replace your current Logitech round wheel with an F1 style wheel for a fun experience, you can choose from different teams or simply a neutral color. They offer power shift to magnetic mod to improve shifting experience. You can head across to Ansei, that's ANSE 3D.com. And here's your grid for race 2 with Hefford starting on pole, Neve on the front row, Sampson and Van Gool on the second row, with Currington and Tyrrams on the third row, Lilly and Dewsbury on the fourth, and top 10 taking it to Chibutaru and Nykamp. Ayres and Cullinan, they're starting on the 6th row of the grid with Currington, with Ayres, Seal. Then we've got Clark, Rogenberg, Mulholland, Jacqueline, Bolden, Littler, Watts, Toon, Hardy, Ricks, and Barry rounding out your field. But everyone has taken to the grid, and the engine nurse arrives once more for race 2 as we get ready to go racing once more at Silverstone. And we are away. And a big incident in the background there. Someone not getting away. I think that was Toon. And someone already on the roof. I'm not sure if that's might even be Littler there, but up at the front end, it is all happening as Currington down 3 places already. As they all come through 2 by 2, almost 3 by 3, and it's getting so tight. And a bit of an incident in the foreground there. The 68 of Currington getting caught up in that congestion there as they came through Village. And now they've got time to breathe, but this battle up front between Samson and Van Gool, we had it for most of the last race. There is Van Gool getting the move done nice and early to get past Samson, but Hefford is out in front and he's already pulled out nearly an 8/10 lead over the cars behind him.
Yep, and he'll want to see Van Gool and Samson keep battling, because the more they do, the more he can build that gap. But that's Van Gool's that's the tricky situation Van Gool was in. He obviously thinks he's got the pace to challenge for the win, so he's got to make that move as soon as he can. He managed to do that, and he's still within draft range. But let's see if he's maybe taken some life out of the tyres, because Hefford does seem to still be able to pull out a little bit more of a gap.
Hefford a little bit tentative through Maggotts and Beckett's for the first time. Van Gool just closing, well, initially closed up the gap through that section, but once more Hefford extending those 2/10 that he lost back out as this overtakes up and down the field. That is Neve trying to make some progress, and doing so. That is second and first place from race 2 right behind him. And Neve is under a lot of pressure from Ciabataro right now as there's a lock up there. That was Tirums there, just almost losing it. He's losing a lot of pace and a lot of places there as Neve getting his way through. And Mulholland, he's into the pits, clearly damaged and not able to carry on. As we come out onto lap 2 right now, it's so tight in this midfield. Neve holding off Ciabataro and Nijkamp right behind him as they say that. Ciabataro just making his way through. Likewise, John Watts. Oh, there's a spinner there. That was the 57 of Seal, and wow, it just goes from bad to worse for Seal. And I think he'll be happy to move on from Silverstone. But wow, these three just won't leave each other alone. 3 wide, down, down the straight, and this can't come out well, or does it? Well, the big loser was Neve. Lost out a place to top 2, and then was that me then, Chris, or did they make contact?
A little bit there, but yeah, Neve was the Ricardo Zonta to Ciabataro and Nijkamp's Schumacher and Hakkinen, if I'm remembering who that was correctly. My memory is now failing me. But yeah, these two seem to be almost working together to try and get themselves through the field. Ayres has done what we were talking about earlier, in that he snuck through on Neve, who I think very sensibly relaxed a little bit in the middle of that, because you could so easily be the sandwich in a sandwich of death if that had carried on there. But we've got a little bit of train here forming as well, with Watts at the front of it. But who on earth has got the pace to take advantage? Cullinan, we have seen, has got supreme straight line speed today, but he does seem to be dropping off a bit with Warrington just behind.
Well, I mean, a credit to Watts, already up 10 places so far in race 2. Just see it in the background here, Morton hanging around the outside. That is Currington on the recovery after, well, opening lap to forget for him, and Morton trying to put more misery into Currington but not able to do so. Just managing to hold off, and look, he's just looming in the background. It's Jacqueline currently in 15th place. Just watching it all unfold in front of him as he just moving the car around there on the corner entry, doing his best to try to distract Morton in front of him.
Yep, and I think Morton very sensibly just covering off the inside line to prevent Jacqueline from doing a dive down the inside, which is a completely valid thing to do so long as it's telegraphed. But no, these guys driving in that train at the moment, they're all doing a pretty good job, and they're only 10 seconds behind the lead, so there's clearly pace throughout the field. But you can see Ciabataro and Nijkamp, they're now fighting amongst each other. Really, they need to sort of look at each other and think, we need to work together, because we know we've got a pace advantage over everyone in front, but the more they fight, the harder it's going to be to try and get the win. But sometimes a racer's pride prevents them from sort of thinking strategically in these situations.
Well, still side by side through Luffield, and they're keeping it going down the old start-finish straight into Cops. Surely someone's got to yield, but no. Nijkamp not budging an inch as we come into Maggotts and Beckett. You definitely can't do this 2x2. They have a little bit of a go, but Ciabataro just has to back out of it. Oh, wow, Ayres nearly having his front end taken off there as Ciabataro just almost losing it on entry. That's played right into Nijkamp's hands as they come down the hanger straight. Ayres, he is on the attack, looking for a move around the outside into so. Can he make it stick? Well, the answer is no. Is there someone off there? I think that's Dewsbury, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it may have had an incident with Samson or just lost it just in front of him. But this is one way that Nykamp and Chiabataro are going to make more places up. Oh, and it looks like he's just lost the rear, and everyone's done very well to avoid him there. Oh God, those are the most frustrating incidents as a driver, because there's nothing he could really do to save that as soon as he'd lost the rear. And it just goes to show you how hard they were pushing. But this is all playing into the hands of Steve Hefford, who, if he's looking at his relative, he will have seen that he's made about 2 seconds on Nykamp and Chiabataro in the last 2 laps. And that can only be good news, because they are, I would feel like, no offence to Peter Van Gool, but I feel like those two are his main rivals for the win this evening.
Just see Morton losing a place to Seal there, but it's all happening in the midfield here, as they're going to look to go 3 wide. Neve, Watts and Cullinan. Cullinan just backing out of it a little bit there, but I tell you what, Watts making progress, taking charge of this trend of 3 cars, and he is up to 9th. As Cullinan's drops right back. Something's happened to him, Chris. I did see a puff of smoke in the background. Has he lost it?
I think he may have lost the rear as well, possibly looking at it, although, oh no, it's actually been contact. You know, just a bit more confident coming round there and unable to adjust to it, but I thought that was very confident driving from Watts we saw there, taking so much curb onto the inside of Brooklands.
Oh, there's a spinner in the background there, Chris. I think that was John O'Lilly. Oh no, it's all gone wrong for Lilly. As he must have sit there and watched the whole field come through.
Well, it does seem to be how Nykamp and Chiabataro, they definitely are making their way through this way, and if Samson and Tyrrell are going to fight, that might be another 2 places they make up.
These two are really scrapping it out hard right now. Samson and Tyrrell, this is the battle for the last place on the podium in race 2. We've got 12 minutes remaining. Tyrrell's just moving around there, just trying to show his nose on the inside. Needs to be careful, but getting too close there into Cops. But sorry, that's not into Cops. Apologies about that one. That's into Abbey. So come on to the brakes now through this tight technical section of the village. The loop out of Aintree. And Tyrrell's just falling back a little bit right now to head down the Wellington straight. That is Dewsbury. Well, a lot of people locking up through the loop there, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's just the temperatures. I mean, it's late afternoon now. Well, 3:15. I don't know how late that is in the afternoon. Maybe just the extra heat. But yeah, they do seem to be pushing. I think this is all a consequence of the changes to the F3 model with this season's update. And as you may have just seen on the timing tower, Carl Hardy down in 21st has just set the fastest lap of the race. So he'll be probably very frustrated, really, to see sort of, look at all this pace I've got, but I can't do anything with it. I'm miles down the order.
Definitely frustration, and going for that additional bonus point as well available for the driver setting the fastest lap outside of the top 10. Making progress with that one to stamp his mark on it, as we see Currington right now onto the back of Seal. You've got a feel for him. Obviously, he had that 2nd place in race 1 last time out of Brands Hatch, but not had the best of luck since then, really. Of course, that incident in race 2 at Brands, and then, of course, we've seen the frustrations that he's experienced here today at Silverstone, and surely another one of the drivers who's definitely something to prove. A little similar to luck with Hardy as well.
Exactly, although I think it's early days in the championship, so all is not lost. You could have had 3 or 4 very bad results and still be potentially a championship rival, because yeah, it's kind of nice to see that it's not all plain sailing for Nykamp, although he is now only 4 seconds off the lead, but there are 4 drivers for him to get past if he does want to make it 4 wins from 4. With Derek Tyrrell, the next, and our sole American in the grid, is his next potential victim.
Just half a race complete now. Your leader is Hefford, 2.2 seconds, nearly clear of Van Gool in 2nd place. Silverstone holding on to that last podium position in 3rd. Tyrrell's right on his heels though in 4th. Nykamp, you see him, he's coming along for the fight, closing right up. It's onto the back of them right now. Chiabataro 6th, 7th with Neve Watts who is up an incredible 12 places already, and Dewsbury right behind him. But here is Jacqueline having to defend from Seal, but it's not gonna work at all. Seal heads around the outside there, and well, just sticking the elbows out there. He's got all this position, Chris, and he does not want to let it go.
It's fair enough. I mean, you're allowed your one move. It's in the rule book for this league, and sort of it's just sensible open wheel racing anyway. But yeah, I think sometimes it's just good to use your car just to sort of get your elbows out and just say, no, I've taken that position, leave off. And now, by doing that, it's actually brought Morton into the equation. So now Jacquelette's got to worry about him, and that's going to let Seal just traipse off in his merry old way. And Derek Coombs, you can see here, is now having to defend really quite hard from Nijkamp.
Was a two-way fight for that last podium place. Is now becoming a three-way fight, and in all fairness then, oh no, he's gone! He's gone! I was about to say they were closing in on him. Now he's down to 7th as he's coming back onto the track, and that looks like Watts is going to gain another place. He's now up an incredible 14 positions, and Van Gool could well be lucky to even remain inside the top 10 as he slots back in to the train in that 10th position. But you said it earlier, Chris, it just shows in the blink of an eye it can all happen and go wrong for someone.
Yep, and that's the pressure of being near the front, and that's what really separates the top drivers out. But I think Steve Effords has had an issue. He was 3 seconds clear of Sampson, and look, you can see that gap is coming all the way down. But this is brilliant. This second to fifth, sorry, group. This is going to become a 5-way battle for the lead at this rate, because I think the pressure seems to be getting to Hefford potentially as well. Sampson's nearly back within draft range.
Well, you say that Tyrrams was trying to make a move on Sampson now, and the whole world of pressure from Nijkamp behind as he pushes him out to the inside. Surely Nijkamp's going to slot it around the inside. Tyrram tries to hold on for dear life, using all of the track and some more, but Nijkamp's going to swoop down and take it. And Chirataro says, thank you very much, I'll have a piece of that action, and displaces Tyrrams and gets himself up into 4th as they head out of Maggots and Beckett's through Chapel and down the Hanger Straight. I mean, Hefford will be desperate and praying to every single god going right now that these guys keep battling and battle hard so they can keep that advantage that he's got at the front. There's just under 7 minutes left remaining in race 2. Oh wow, we are in for one tasty grandstand finish here at Silverstone.
And Sampson is now just about within a second. He'll be wishing we had DRS in these cars now, because that you can see that gap is it's really coming down. But there's so much jeopardy here because Nijkamp and Chiapataru are very similarly paced. They're just a little bit quicker than Sampson and Hefford. But of course, Nijkamp, he's only got Chiapataru, what, 2 tenths of a second behind him. One small mistake, and you know that is potentially his win over. So it's very, very difficult. The amount of pressure you're under as a driver in the middle of one of these trains, it just, you know, we can't undersell just how well any of these drivers are driving. I mean, Sampson is having a fantastic race in particular, I think, to be able to hold off these two while still catching Steve Hefford as he goes a little bit wide into this corner.
It's so close between these three right now. Tyrrams has just dropped a bit far back. He's about a second off this train of 3 cars. 3 cars fighting over the last 2 places on the podium, but they are slowly, bit by bit, closing into Hefford as Nijkamp pulls out to take charge of this group, or does he? As Sampson tries to hold on around the outside, he's not going to be able to do it. Nijkamp takes second place, Chiapataru trying to follow him through, but Sampson just holds on to 3rd for now. But if he can get this section right, Chris, he's going to be right in the slipstream range, and I don't think he has to. Just runs in and a bit too deep to Chapel, and here comes Chiapataru down the Hanger Straight, pulls out, heads to the inside, and surely into Stowe. This is going to be the move done, and yes, it is. As although he runs a bit wide, Sampson comes back at him. They're going to go side by side once again. Sampson just ahead, but he's on the outside if he can hold on, but no, Chiapataru, wow, slams the door shut in his face and takes control of 3rd.
Very excellent, very assertive driver from Chiapataru, well avoided from Sampson. And Chiapataru feel he had to do that because Nijkamp was pulling away. You can see he's a second ahead now, and he's within the draft range of Hefford, so Chibataru's got some work to do to get back into that train, and Samson's now got Tyrrams for company, and yeah, it'll be frustrating for Samson, who must feel like that second place, potentially even that win, was just within his grasp. But he's still driven fantastically to even be up in fourth right now. Steve Hefford, he has got 4 and a bit minutes to try and survive with Nijkamp right behind him. I think there's a sense of inevitability here. I think Nijkamp is, at the moment, odds-on favourite to get win 4 out of 4. I promise you, I'm not trying to put a commentator's curse on him here.
Well, Hefford, the gap is now down to 2/10 of a second as we have 4 minutes remaining here at Silverstone. Who is going to come out on top? Nijkamp, the gap is closing. He's coming for the overtake. He pulls out, and surely into turn 1. This is going to be the move done. And Nijkamp takes control of race 2, but Hefford's fighting for dear life right now. Chibataru tries to find a way through when there's nearly contact, and this is going to allow Hefford to come back alongside, but Chibataru, wow, he forced the move, but like you said, Chris, he had to do it, but Hefford's coming back at him once more, and more importantly, he's going to have the inside line into stow. Chibataru squeezing him to the inside, and Hefford can, switch on the brakes just to settle in the car, and that's what's allowed Chibataru to keep hold of that second place.
Well, Nijkamp tried something very sneaky there. You saw he pulled onto the inside. He was trying to give his toe to Steve Hefford because he knows that Chibataru is probably a bigger risk to his race win. But Chibataru, we've seen some incredibly brave overtakes from him. I'd say his racecraft is very much up to scratch here, and he's been able to follow Nijkamp through this entire field. He probably had a much harder job than Nijkamp because he's the one that's constantly been having to chase, and you can see he's still within a second. But we've only got 2.5 minutes left to go. I feel like this is Nijkamp's race to lose now, but what a race we've been treated to.
I certainly have, and well, there's only 2.5 seconds, so 2.5 minutes even left on the clock. It is ticking down, and Chibataru is running out of time. There's another lockup there. It's going to help him definitely there as they come around Lovefields, but further down the field, battles happening everywhere. As we see, Neve just holding on to that 10th place for now, but Carrington going to slot it up the inside and sneak through. But what can Neve do? He's tucked up right behind these guys as well. Sorry, Jacqueline even, and not able to quite capitalise, or is he? Pulls out once again, just faking that move, trying to distract both the drivers in front of him, but not quite able to get anything done. Carrington on the defensive. Jacquelette's lost it. I'm not sure if that was contact there, Chris, potentially, but Jacquelette exits stage right. And
yeah,
that is impressive for him.
I think he's running quite an unstable setup, because I think to me that was just overloading the tyres just at the air. I think he's overloaded the tyres a little bit, and I think maybe he needs to run a more stable setup, because he's clearly got good pace. He's just really struggled to keep that car on the track, and it's a shame because I think we've got a lot more to see from him. But we were saying at the start of the evening that we didn't expect to see many overtakes done into Copse, but I think that's about the 5th or the 6th overtake we've seen. But Carrington's overtake coming into Luffield, I think aesthetically speaking, is the best overtake I've seen this evening. I mean, I think there have been higher quality overtakes, but that one looked the prettiest, which I think at the end of the day, that's what matters the most with racing, as I think we're now on the white flag lap.
We are. I'm not sure quite where the last 19 and a bit minutes have gone, but we are down to the final lap and the dying seconds, and well, Carrington knows it. He's on the dive there. Oh, Chris, I've just spotted Tyrrams. That's Tyrrams. He's come off track, and oh, there's someone else off there as well. I think, was that Ayres? Have they? Yeah. Wow.
Looks
bit
like
of a strange one.
Down, but you pointed out earlier in the race, Joe Watts. He's now up 16 places. Started P21. He's now P5. That is absolutely phenomenal driving from him.
Chris, here we go. Carrington around the outside at Lovefield. This is going to be tight. He's going to get the move done, though. Wow, up into 8th place. And Neve, well, left completely vertically vulnerable, but another battle looming here in this closing stages. Dewsbury having to defend from Seal as they come into Mackett's and Beckett's, and You can just see Dewsbury seemed to be, just didn't quite get the entry right there, but he's going to get away with it, isn't he? Because it's all about what exit you can get out of the chapel.
It really is, and the leaders are coming around the hangar straight now. And I think Nykamp's got a bit of traffic to contend with. Is this going to play any part in the final part of the race? No, I think he's been let through, so he'll be breathing a sigh of relief.
They certainly will be, and we're just waiting for him to come round the final corner. But there you go, to make it 4 wins from 4 here in the XLR F3 Championship. Nykamp takes the victory. Chirpataru finishes in 2nd, and Hefford finishes in 3rd. His first time on the podium this season, and they'll be happy with that one. Most certainly Van Gool. Wrapping it up with Ralph Cullen here. And it looks like Cullen's going to hold him off the advances of the Dutchman at the closing stages. But wow, Chris, I'm just having a bit of a look through. I think that's pretty much battle-wise, that's us over and done with here. But what a race. What a race too.
Well, I think the reverse grid format 2 times out of 2 has proven the merits of having it, because what a race from everyone at the top there. I mean, Nykamp again, we saw the same from him last week out, but there's some really high quality overtaking there. I'm really excited to see what these two could do throughout the series, and I'm glad to see Steve Hefford finally get a podium, because I feel like he's a driver we're yet to see his full ability from. And like we said as well, Joe Watts, what an incredible drive from Joe Watts, sort of going completely under the radar, but to make 16 places up in a 25 car grid is really, really impressive.
The fog of tyre being burnt out there from a few donuts down at turn 1, just clouding over things there. But I mean, you say about Joe Watts there, Chris, I mean, up 16 places. I mean, equally, as much as he was aided by people falling off the track in front of him, you've got to be there to take those opportunities.
Oh yes, exactly. And I think again, if you sort of look down the grid, there'll be plenty of drivers who still feel like I have the pace to be involved in this top thing. I mean, like Carl Hardy in 17th, and he's up 6 positions for that, but he was the only driver to dip into the 1 minute 51s in that second race. So I think that's someone to look out for future races, because there's clearly pace throughout this field. And it's just so far, Nykamp's been the main driver to be able to sort of string it together race after race. But I don't think this championship is over yet. I mean, we've still got 10 races to go, well, 20 races to go at 10 different tracks. So this is it's not over yet.
Most certainly not. Let's just run you through your classified results here for race 2 from Silverstone. Nykamp taking the victory, make it 4 wins from 4 so far. Chirpataru second place of the day, and Hefford rounding out your podium, and a 4th different finisher in that 3rd position so far this season. Sampson, he came home in 4th with Watts, as we mentioned, up an incredible 16 places for 5th. Dewsbury 6th, Michael Seal 7th, and might feel a little bit of grief. Currington recovering well to 8th, Neve 9th, and Morton rounding out your top 10. Lily 11th for Ayres in 12th, Cullinan. Van Gool, who'd be disappointed he didn't finish higher up, 14th in the end for him. Likewise with Tyrrams in 15th as well. Boldham, Hardy, Rogenbeck, and Clark and Mulholland round out your top 20 with Littler. Barry, of last drivers, finishing on the lead lap, taking up to 22nd with Tim and Ricks finishing a lap down, and Jacqueline, who we lost 2 laps from the end. But wow. Oh, what a spectacular race. I mean, these race twos, as you mentioned, Chris, really, really bring in the action. But as you mentioned a little bit earlier in the broadcast, Alton Park next time out. I mean, in terms of track width and maybe the flow and style, you could argue similar to Brands. Would you expect a sort of similar type of action and response, like we said, like we saw from Brands?
I'm expecting carnage, and I can't wait to see you all next week for that, quite frankly, Tim.
No, most certainly not. And for myself, Tim Cox, Chris Rowlands, and Sean Cranleigh-Swash in the production booth. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you in a week's time as the XLR F3 Championship heads to Alton Park.